I'm going to talk about Bigfoot in the Pacific Northwest tonight. Little did I know, obviously in the sort of late 70s, early 80s, we had obviously Clark's Mysterious World, and little did I predict that years later I was actually going to be, you know, friends with and meeting all the Bigfooters in America, and friends with Bob Gimlin, who actually filmed Patty. But you never know where your life's going to go, do you? Basically, I've got first got involved. I went on an expedition in 2012 with Adam Davies, Andrew Sanderson, who I met at the CSZ conference weekend, and I got invited out with them. And I was really sceptical about Bigfoot, I must admit. I thought, no way is Bigfoot going to exist in modern America. There are too many people, you know, how can it be hiding? I just went out with them because I wanted to see a bear in the wild, to be quite frank. I really didn't believe it could exist. Within about 2 days, I was about 90-odd% convinced it did exist. I spoke to loads of people who'd seen it. We got footprints, I think it was the second or third day. I'd been in the forest, then we got a camera trap. I think the photo the day after that was quite controversial, which I'll show you later. A lot of people think we faked, but we didn't. On the last day I was packing up my tent and I was stood in a lead to the river, you'll see in a minute, and I heard the howl. I'm pretty sure it's a Bigfoot howl, and that pretty much convinced me there was something there. And then about a year and a half later, Tom Control, who's an author and a Bigfooter in America, who met on the first expedition, invited me out on one of his trips, and we got footprints within 20 minutes, and then we got, heard some whoops, and then I think it was about 4 or 5 days in, we're driving up a logging road which is about 60 miles long, and I actually saw 2 of them. They came right out from the car. They made a mistake, they ran into burnt out trees, panicked, and then luckily for us, they came right in front of the car again. And I think they were roughly about 15 feet away at the end, so I'll talk about that later. So, and I've since been out to the conference, Sasquatch Summit a couple of times, and I've been out at night as well with some people from there, so I'll talk about that later. That's actually the lead I was standing in the middle of. It's quite shallow when I heard the Bigfoot howl. And that's in the North Cascades, a beautiful location, really beautiful. Montane forest, which is like sort of cold rainforest, very mossy. There's a lot of oak trees, evergreens there. It's an amazing place up there. And that was with the first expedition with Adam and Andrew Sanderson and others. Bigfoot, what is it? I'll be talking about that. Oh, sorry. Go forward. What does it look like? Where can we find it? And looking at the researchers from the past and the present. And how to find it, looking at tracking and habituation, which is a big thing now. And equipment you can ideally use. I'm going to talk about my own sightings and looking at the future. Okay, Bigfoot, you've probably heard that some people think it's Gigantopithecus, which was the bits of the jaw and the teeth, as far as I know, have been found of that, and it was meant to be a very tall upright ape from area of China. There's going to be 2 subgroups of it. They infer from the jaw that it's actually upright, so that's one possibility, and it could have sort of, there was obviously land masses connected by ice and different ways at one point, so people infer it might have come over into North America. There's also Jeff Meldrum has a theory that it's Homo erectus robustus, which is a very chunky form of Homo erectus, which is more what I possibility I agree with, or I think what I saw was slightly more primitive than that. And, or, as I said, it could be a completely new hominid, or hominid. Obviously, it's comparison to the Yeti, and 3 types of Yeti, and the largest sort might well be the old world version of Bigfoot. Descriptions are very similar, but it's supposed to be more aggressive and longer hair. It's got hair, not fur, Bigfoot, supposedly. And also you've got the, it might be related to things like Orang-Pendek, which is a smaller version, and the Almas or Almasti Russia, but that's supposed to be sort of more advanced than Bigfoot. And obviously, we've got the Homo florensis, the Abogogo, which is like a really small version that we know definitely existed now. So that's good evidence that Bigfoot could possibly exist. We're now finding evidence of these animals that we thought were just like folklore things. In the First Nation, Native American legends, you speak to Native Americans, they'll tell you, most of the tribes tell you it is a real animal. They say it's not a spirit animal, it's a real animal, just like a bear. And they've got different legends, it could depend on the food availability of the Bigfoot. There's some legends called it cannibal giant, will eat people. If there's a shortage of protein, it might well do that in some areas. And some legends are saying it's just a very large man, and they have obviously found these really large skeletons and skulls of people, but it's meant to be hairy, so that's against that idea. And also in Canada, it's got like a very, and also there's some connections to Wendigo as well in some tribes. In Canada, they talk about forest spirits, Tulloch, about like you don't let children out like after it goes dark, because this thing will get you, eat children, and spirit you away, and that seems to be related to that. A lot of the tribes do say that. And obviously I said, it's sort of good or bad. Different tribes, even right next to each other, have got views that it's a good or bad thing. Some say it can steal women and mate with them and have offspring. I very much doubt that, but if it was Homo erectus, that's possible. And the masks by the First Nation people, absolutely. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Oh, there. This is from the Museum of Anthropology in Vancouver University. Anybody can go in there. There's amazing Bigfoot masks. And you see the big brow ridge and the sort of pursed lips, the nose, the hooded sort of nose. There's some more of them. They've got an amazing collection there, and the security guys are great. They'll let you go right up to the stuff if they want a good photograph. That didn't come out very well, but this is talking, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this. Wild Woman of the Woods describes her as a giantess, characterised by sleepy sunken eyes, pursed lips, black hairy body, vain and clumsy. She steals children and carries them home in a basket to eat. Most often they wit her escape, and she can be a bestower of gifts and bring wealth and good fortune. Now, a lot of people say if they habituate Bigfoots, they will actually, if you leave them food, they'll leave you stuff. And I've got friends, who've given them, put berries out for them and food, and they've been left a ripped apart deer on their doorstep. And my friends came, opened the door, and there's half a deer on a doorstep, which she reckoned was put by Bigfoots. And there's been, obviously the first use, we're talking about the first use of the word Bigfoot in the 50s, but, there's Leif Erikson in 986 AD talked about these big hairy men, and there's obviously Jacko. They think that was possibly an April Fool. This ape-like thing was found knocked unconscious in a railway track. Could have been an April Fool, might not have been though. People have tried to sort of trace the story of him. So people say he was a young Bigfoot, some people escaped chimpanzee from a circus. And then Teddy Roosevelt got told an account of two loggers who'd had like whoops and howls and things thrown at them, and a campsite, not loggers, they were trappers, sorry. And one of them went off to get the traps and came back, and the other guy got his neck broken and big teeth marks in his neck. So, you know, supposedly, you know, it was Bigfoots that did that. Perhaps they got too close to the young, we don't know. Okay, let's looking at the researchers of Bigfoot. Donald Wallace is the one very well known for having a logging company. The guy's remote area of the forest, and they found these very large footprints, and some of his logging equipment was thrown, really heavy logging equipment was just thrown down gullies and moved. And then Bob Titmuss came in and cast them and got involved. And that was the start of the modern interest in Bigfoot. And obviously Patterson and Gimlin, film in '67 of Patty, everybody must be aware of that, must have seen that. I mean, this one guy said he was in the suit, it was him. He actually spoke to Gimlin about him. He was a well-known compulsive liar. You've seen him on programmes, get through lie tests. Compulsive liars can get through lie tests. So it doesn't really mean anything. His length of his torso has been shown to be completely wrong for the length of the animal that was shown on the video. Also, it was a female Bigfoot. In '67, it was quite a macho culture in America. They wouldn't have had a female Bigfoot, they would have had a male Bigfoot. So there's you know, you can see damage, tendon damage underneath the suit. You know, there's so many factors, and the primatologists now say that is real. So to say there isn't a film of Bigfoot, there is. And Bob Gimlin, as a good friend of mine now, he's as honest as a die. You know, he said to you, you know, oh, I could have been fooled by Patterson, but I don't think so. We're tracking it for 3 days. It was very big. You know, he'll tell you all the explanations why he thinks it was real. And he's seen one in the shadows, he said, since. But he's never seen as good a sighting as that. And he's still Bigfoot, and he's 84, and he's still Bigfoot, and he regularly goes out in the forest with friends camping. Professor Jeff Meldrum, Idaho State University, probably seen him on programmes. He's an expert on primate locomotion anthropology. He's got the best collection in the world of footprints. He gets sent those by people. And he's connected with the Falcon Project. So I don't know if people are aware of that. They were trying to get money together for a big army drone to spot Bigfoot. I don't think they ever got enough in the end. I need to ask him about that. John Binder-Nagel is an absolutely lovely bloke, Canadian. He used to work for the Fisheries and Game Department, from what I understand. And he's done a really good book. I don't think you get it in this country, we can get it from Amazon in America, Discovering the Sasquatch, which is a really good textbook, a really scientific book on that. Bill Munns, he's the guy who did Harry and the Hendersons. He's an expert on costumes, and he's also expert on film analysis. He was asked to look at Patty and obviously doing Harry and the Hendersons, the Bigfoot and that. He suddenly he was asked to analyse Patty, and he thought, oh my God, this thing is real. And he gave various reasons that there's no stretch in it, there's no stretch fabric in those days, loads of different reasons. The guy who did Planet of the Apes said, I could not have done that. And Bill Munns, is now a serious Bigfoot. After being asked to analyse that film, he is now seriously into Bigfooting, because he said, that is real. Mitchell Townsend is an interesting guy. He's claims to have he's got some ribs he's found that look like they've got the marks of massive incisors, that look like human incisors, canines. Some people are saying that's not possible. The canines would make a mark, but not the incisors. But if you've got very chalky bone, it's starting to break down impossible. And I've handled some of these things. They're really quite weird. Looks like massive human teeth marks. But he's a bit controversial. There's some really good groups, the BFRO, you all know that one, who do Finding Bigfoot program. Olympic project, that's up in the Olympic Peninsula, really good groups, some really nice people in that as well, really scientific. An International Society for Primal People, that's what I've been involved with. My mentor's Tonks, he runs that with other people. And they very much believe that Bigfoot's a primitive person, and they treat them as such. There's quite a few of the members also First Nation, and they feel it really should be treated with respect. There's some really interesting couples who do like the there's I can't remember the North American Primate Project. That's what they're now calling it. The North American Wood Ape is the new term they're using for it. And the people who did Sierra Sounds, Ron Moorhead and his wife. Has anybody heard those? The Sierra Sounds. I don't know. What do people believe they're real? It's interesting, my friend, new friend, William John Hammer III, he's actually called him John, he's part of the Olympic project and BFRO. He took himself on his own out in a forest in his trailer, didn't tell anybody where he was going, took himself up a remote logging road, camped up for the night. His little dog, his little Yorkshire Terrier, called Mozart, suddenly starts growling at 3 in the morning. It's a really low growl, and Mozart does not do that with people. And she was, the little dog was terrified, he said. Suddenly got this loud whack on the side of the trailer, and all these sounds, exactly like the Sierra Sound, started right outside his trailer. There was further whacks, and he said he couldn't find any footprints because it was too dry, but he's convinced that what they recorded is genuine now. He said there was definitely something out there. There's dedicated experts, my friend Toby Johnson, I'll see a picture of him in a minute, and his son Jude. They go out, they do off track, you can see it on YouTube. They regularly go out. He's had some bluff charges from behind bushes, had bushes shaken at him. They found footprints. He's even seen people have seen them, where you get these little mice wrapped up in leaves. They're like little woven leaves, and then mice inside them. And they found that in a lot of Bigfoot spots, and it's quite interesting. I'd love to see some of those. Tom Cantrell, I'll spell his name on, it's T-H-O-M. He's one of my mentors. He's a logger. He's been a ranger in the past, and he's been Bigfooting for I think 44, 45 years now. After he followed some footprints for about 4 or 5 hours, he was in between logging jobs and he saw these footprints, so I'm going to follow these. And it got to the point where it was too dark to get back to his trailer. So he thought, I'll camp for the night. He found this hollowed out tree. It was ideal, so he put a fire in front of it. And then suddenly he heard these whoops and these whistles, and he thought, what the hell's that? So he backed into this log and he got a fire in front of him, so he felt safe. So these little pebbles started to be thrown at him. And he said suddenly he could see these silhouettes of these massive things, and ever since then he's a serious Bigfoot. And he said that he sat on a log and had one come up and prod him. He's had all sorts of, and he is like a Bigfoot magnet, this guy. This is the guy I was with when I saw the Bigfoot. He seems to have the most amazing luck, and I thought he's got to be winding me up about this, and then I saw one with him and I was with him, so I obviously like him. Laurie Simmons, she's one of the people I went out with Adam Davis. Her dad used to be quite a serious Bigfooter, and she's carried on Bigfooting. Paul Freeman, obviously, we know from his videos on YouTube, quite a famous Bigfoot. He's sadly deceased now, but there's some doubt he was a practical joker, but a lot of people I know knew him, said no, he was, that was genuine stuff. Cindy Dozen, I don't know if you've seen her, as a blonde lady got chased by Bigfoot. Now, I saw it on the programmes in the UK, and I thought, I'm really sceptical about this. Met her, I said, do you mind telling me about that? She was telling me, I ended up holding her hand, she was shaking all over and crying, and I said to her, you got PTSD, haven't you, after that? And she said, yeah, I've had some help for it. And she was quite visibly traumatised. She was actually shaking all over, telling me, so that woman definitely had some experience that wasn't very pleasant. Autumn Williams as well, another lady done some He did that book Enoch, which I'm not too sure about, quite sceptical about that, but a guy who claimed to have habituated some Bigfoots, but she's done some good programmes, quite interesting to watch. And there's people like David Polides, not too sure how to pronounce his name. He's an ex-police detective. I met him the last time I was up there. A really interesting guy. He's been investigating some unusual deaths and disappearances and children who disappeared but were found, either alive or dead. And he reckons some of these are Bigfoot abductions. Some of the kids are interviewed by police. He gets hold of proper police reports. The children are describing being picked up by a big hairy dog man, or ape man, or bear man, with hands who fed them berries and then carried them and kept them warm. And some of these kids are abducted in winter, and they should be dead. They're always found naked, and they said, oh, the big hairy thing, and they describe exactly like a Bigfoot, carried me around, fed me berries, and they reckon they're possibly female Bigfoots. That, you know, it doesn't specifically say this, I'm not too sure. Richard, does he say it in the end, in his last books, or
sorry?
Does he talk specifically about it being Bigfoot, or does he just hint? So
He doesn't say specifically, he hints.
Yeah, but it's very, very big hints. But it's...
There's a case where these children go missing, and they're found, and they're hiding in a little cave. And they ask what's happened, and they said they were chased by gorillas.
Yeah, so there's another woman who said she was chased by these men, and all she could see was dark, sort of. So they're dark head to foot. So there's a lot of these reports. They're proper police reports as well. So really interesting to read. Hooper Project, Tribal Bigfoot, and there's a Missing 911 series as well, which is written. Highly recommend them. Really, really good. The first ones, he went round with a forensic artist. Harvey Pratt is the guy who did the Bill Mundy profile, and they interviewed the people, asked them what the Bigfoot looked like, and they're almost all identical, so that's really good evidence. And then internet, there's some really good sites. International Site for Primal People's the one, a site for Primal People, that's one. I mean, Facebook finding Bigfoot, some of them aren't as good as others, but some, you know, they've got pretty scientific methods of analysing the images. That's my mentor's Tom Cantrell, really nice bloke. That's Toby Johnson and his son Jude, and don't ask me the dog's name. We were meant to meet up this November, and we were meant to go camping in November up a mountain at 7,000 feet, which probably was a bad idea. And then the little dog in the middle swallowed a fish hook, so I had to go out with other people, but I've made some new good friends because of that, but it's... that was a planned trip I didn't do, but he's a really nice family. And that's Adam Davies in the middle, me on the right, and various other, Laurie on the left, Dave Archer, to the left of Laurie, Andrew Sanderson, to the left of Dave, Tim at the back, Simon Mellor, so Tim DeFree at the back, and Simon Mellor, from people on that expedition. And if you wonder why Sandy's got a patch over his eye, he rolled over in his sleeping bag and went onto a hairy caterpillar, which isn't a good idea at all, as they found out later. Investigation, right. Various ways of collecting, if you're doing a scientific investigation, DNA samples, obviously you have to use gloves that are pre-sealed, to avoid contamination, and that's a big thing. The Melba Ketchum stuff, there's evidence of a lot of contamination. She kept finding 100% human type DNA. I reckon Breast Brian Fights reckon it was all contamination because of the method she was using. Hair analysis, certain types of hair that have been found that don't quite fit the profiles of other animals. And the footprints, the footprints, there's a lot of fake footprints, unfortunately, and I don't know if anybody aware of the London Trackway. Toby Johnson was one of the first people on the site for the London Trackway, and Tom Powell, and they now reckon they're possibly faked, which is a real shame, because they look really impressive. There's about 122 of them down by the side of a river in the mud, but they now reckon sadly they're faked. And the thing about a real footprint, you can, the ones I saw that looked pretty real, they weren't that uniform. If the foot's arching over a twig or something, you see changes. Obviously, you could do that with rubber, but the ones I saw, they were very, very deep, so you couldn't have, done it with rubber. Some people said you could do it with a pneumatic device, but you'd have to get it in, it'd be really heavy. And they're often very deep. The ones I saw, I jumped off a log in the same mud and I was a third of the depth, so wherever it was really heavy. And obviously stools, they found these massive, they look like human stools, but they're really large. And the sort of the teeth marks, and obviously, people could find bones and teeth, but in terms of people say, well, why haven't I found a skeleton? I think they've only ever found one mountain lion skeleton. All the rest have just been eaten by scavengers. Mice eat them. It's a very acid environment where they are. They don't last long at all. So there's no surprise they haven't found one of a rare animal. So obviously the films, the visuals and the stills, I'll be talking later about those, about what's the appropriate equipment to use, because most people are using the wrong equipment. And obviously sound recording, interviews and transcripts of people, talking to witnesses, obviously getting good witnesses. Police are really good, they're good at judging size, they're good at judging distance, and speed, so police are really good, there's a lot of police who've seen it. And interactive experiments where people put out food or put out things that they want the Bigfoots to. People wear sticks and see whether they mess around with them, and also things like below I put as well, a bit lower down. They seem to like interesting sounds. So people have even got fireworks, had a disco in the wood, played instruments. And I put Bigfoot anthropology. So a lot of the people who believe it's a human are actually talking about how their society functions, and there's certain things like people say there's watchers, there were two males watching, and the one will distract you so the young can get away. It's quite interesting stuff. Equipment, night vision equipment, manual focusing cameras, they're really important, because the trouble is why we're not getting good shots. Most are autofocus. You get them in a wood, they can't focus. They keep the focus keeps going backwards and forwards, and this is why a lot of our shots aren't any good, but people are getting some really good stuff with action cams now. Thermal imagers as well, they seem to be the real way forward. People are starting to get the Grays Harbour thermal image, that's quite an interesting one, so the head and the torso, the top half of Bigfoot, and there's other ones that are coming in, and obviously drones, but they're very noisy. But they sound like a swarm of wasps or bees. So that could actually cause the Bigfoot to start running and get a better shot. Biological, I've said about taking samples of hairs or DNA, casting. It's important to learn how to cast properly. A lot of people, you've got to really learn how to do it properly. And tracking, there's certain things that you look for. Gaps through trees, about 7 foot odd, and there's where also Bigfoots lay down. I've seen what looks like a nest with little ripped off bits of, I don't know if it's heather but it's something lining it, and indents in the ground, things to look for, and there's certain foods. Now the Amish say they hate sprouts, so they eat absolutely anything, but they leave the sprouts. So they'll literally eat loads of corn. They don't like sprouts. So neither does Richard Freeman, do you? So
they are Satan's animals.
Yeah. Okay. Habituation. This is a big thing. It's like what they do with mountain gorillas. They camp a good distance away. They slowly move in. They put them food out, and they wait till they get used to them. I've met people who are doing this. The trouble is, once they've habituated them, people tend to get really protective of them because they see them as like people, family, and then often they won't tell you where they are. I know a Texan woman who showed me a film, what I thought was initially got to be faked. I was a bit suspicious because all so she was very blurred and she'd meant to be doing a selfie, but she'd had the thing focusing outwards, and all the fur was slightly different colours, and I thought that's a bit weird because the Bigfoot suits tend to be pretty standardised colours, and they're all slightly different hair colours. And one of them had a different thing on its shoulder, and suddenly this different thing on the shoulder suddenly swung round like a gibbon over the backs of the others, and was like, you could see like an arm hanging on to the fur. And I thought, oh my God, you know, it really freaked me out. I thought, unless she's hired a load of my gorilla suits, all in the same fur colour, Bigfoot suits, and hired a gibbon for the day, that is a real family Bigfoot. So that got me pretty convinced. And interesting sounds, behaviours, as I said, they can attract them. Camo versus ordinary clothes. They're now saying don't wear camo because they think you're hunting them. They're not daft. They know what hunters are. They know hunters have got guns. Some areas they reckon they're attracted to hunters because they nick the deer. Hunters have like shot a deer, gone to grab it, it's gone, and it's got no signs of being dragged. So they reckon some areas of Bigfoot actually like the sound of guns. They nick the deer. But they're now saying sit in a campsite, wear bright visible clothes so they know where you are, and do interesting things and they'll come to you. That's the advice. Right. That, I don't know if you can see it, that's one of the best footprints we got. It cast, I'll show you the cast in a minute. That was, the one I said was quite deep. It's a lot deeper than it looks there. The toes are on the right, the heels on the left. I often find the best way of taking photographs of footprints is black and white because it shows up a lot better, but that one isn't suddenly. That was actually really deep, and I jumped off a log to test the distance I could get in, and I was a third through the mud, so whatever it was really heavy. And they were right, the footprints are right behind each other, they're not like a human. They literally walk like this, so they're right behind one another, so that's one of the things you look for, because they sort of swing the hips in a certain way. That's the cast of the one on the left, not a very good cast. These are two other casts, we think they're probably humans. We weren't 100%, they were in a weird spot though. But the one on the left, you can see it hasn't got the curve of the foot, like the one on the far right, which was pretty sure is a child's cast, and that was in the North Cascades of Adam's expedition. That's the camera trap photo we got on that expedition as well, very controversial. Somebody has been suggesting it's a human sat upright with a hoodie sleeping bag. Now that was Adam and Laurie that night. They did not have hoodie sleeping bags, so I remember them walking out thinking, oh God, they'll be cold, they've got hoodie sleeping bags. None of them had anything with hoods on either. And Dave Archer crouched down in the same spot, and he was a third the way up that thing. Somebody said it's got to be about 7.5, 8 foot, whatever it was. But you can see the domed head at the top. They've got no neck from the back. They look like a big, stocky rugby player, Bigfoot. And you can see the big muscles on the back, which I don't think would have shown up to a sleeping bag. I mean, we were open-minded, but it frightened the life out of us all, to the point even the blokes were asking. Nobody went to the loo on their own after that. Everybody went in twos, so it did quite scare us. And that was right in the middle of the campsite, and we were lying out to attract them in. These are, when you're looking for Bigfoot, there's a lot of people over-interpreting stuff. Now, you do get things arranged in a weird way, the forest. Sometimes they randomly fall. This also gives you an idea of what montane forest is like. Very wet, very mossy, lots of lichen. But you get these sticks fall in a certain way. Now, on the right, it looked like something might have been ripped down. But you don't know. You can over-interpret. You've got to look at everything else that's there as well. And these are the sort of things you look for, the profiles, behaviours to look for. Now, one thing they do a lot is tree peeking. So they stand behind a tree and the head will come out and then they'll quickly put the head back. You might see a hand or a shoulder as well. and that's one of the things they commonly do when they're watching you. They are mainly nocturnal. I saw mine in the daytime. You do see them in the daytime, but mainly nocturnal. They tend to be in groups. And there's also other consistent behaviours you look for, like they'll walk past undergrowth and they'll grab it and twist it slightly, so you can see these bits of sticks that are like been twisted. The same with the almas as well, they look for that with those as well. Food signs, deer kills, they kill deer in a very distinct way. They run up, they charge them from the side supposedly, and they grab a front leg and they literally snap it in two or rip it off. So you do find these deer or hogs, the rangers say, if it's got leg missing and they can't see why they don't have leg missing. Bears don't tend to do that. They haven't got any, hands to grab things. And you get, by rivers, you'll get like clams that have been stacked, like somebody's been eating them. Trees with fingers, not claws, because you need to see claw marks, fingers used to strip the bark above 7 feet. I've not seen this, but I know people who have. And it looks like fingers have been used to strip the bark and eat the bark. And, sorry, I've repeated something like that. Food signs, go back in the same, not repetition. And Bigfoot's what to look for. They're very large, females are a lot smaller. People say like 5.5, so 6.5, 7 feet for female, and some of the males are 6.5, even going to 8 odd feet. In Canada, they've described massive ones. The colder it gets, the bigger they get. The skunk apes are quite small. They're about in the swamps. They're about sort of 5 foot-ish, just all under 6 foot. Whereas the Canadian ones, they've described 10 footers because so they get bigger as it gets colder. Sagittal crest, like a gorilla, those like pointed top of the head. Ears, sides of the head, people say confused with bears. Bears have the ears on the top of the head, so distinctly different. And Bigfoot's got big, broad shoulders, whereas bears got sloping shoulders. And they've got hair, not fur, so it's like ours. Can be very matted. The ones I saw had bare face, bare feet. Some of the bits of the hands are bare. And some of the chest, depends on the animal. There's supposed to be subgroups, people say. And people sort of say the eyes are a lot bigger than a human. And the ones I saw, it was hardly any white. It was almost all black. And some people got dark yellow eyes or red eyes, sometimes glowing eyes. I think it's probably a reflection, but some people say they glow by themselves. Broad shoulders, those are sort of massive shoulders, abnormal shoulders, like 3 foot across. A large stride, so the footprints, I tried to match the footprints, I was literally doing the splits and I couldn't even get that far across. And when they run, it's like a man on a bicycle, so the head doesn't bob. And they run in quite a strange way, they sort of swing the legs, that's why you get the footprints one after the other. And Toby Johnson's son saw one, his mate, and he thought, he said to me, that's 13-year-old lads, their imagination. And then he spoke to Jude, and Jude, the little boy was terrified, he wouldn't get out of the car after he'd seen it. He said, I'm not getting out of the car. Jude was a bit braver, but he said, Dad, you have a really weird thumb. If you're a kid, you're not going to be talking about it had a weird thumb, are you? You made it up, you're going to be saying, oh, it's a massive teeth and a massive claws, it was gigantic, it would have killed me. But he was actually talking about how weird its thumb joint was, which I believe in, because that's not the sort of thing a kid would normally talk about, they're making it up. And the speed, they can 30 odd miles an hour, the ones I saw did about 30, then they slowed down very, very fast. And they can go on all fours as well, especially the young ones. And they can go up trees, they can go in water, and they're supposed to swim like a frog when they're in water. As I said, bent trees and saplings, and sometimes the trees are really big that have been broken off. And they sometimes or knock a tree down and it'll block the path. And that's supposed to be a territorial thing, I have seen that. Looks like, in association with bent trees. Have these strange stick arrangements, Tom Cantrell reckons they've got a primitive language. Chimpanzees, I think some apes, there's been some suggestion they might do a bit of breaking things or to signs of territory. I don't know, but some of these stick arrangements could be random falls, but some of them are quite bizarre, I've seen. And when we were with Adam, we suddenly came out of the tent, there was all sort of sticks arranged, which weren't there before. And so bone clam stacks, rock stacks as well, and some of the rocks are massive, they've moved. And they reckon they're looking for rodents, they're far too big for humans to have moved. And trees broken that are far too big as well. And you get, sometimes in the shelters, you get a load of sticks and big tree trunks arranged in what appears to be a shelter. And also, as I said, so these hollows with these bits of undergrowth that look like gorilla nests. I've seen mountain gorilla nests. They're very, very similar. And the sounds you get, tree knocking and whoops, whoop, whoop. That's what the whoop sounds like. I've done that, I've actually had it done back, which is quite freaky. You have to control the echo in a valley, but these were definitely independent whoops. And chattering, like the similar stuff that Sarah sounds. Howls, whistles like a schoolboy, like this, they do that, and Jeff Meldrum's heard that. And rock banging. The last time I was there, I went out, this guy in Brooklyn, he's film and production engineer in America, very tall bloke, very deep baritone voice. And we were told by the Olympic Project we did a Bigfoot sighting 2 miles away, so we kept going backwards and forwards about 1:30 in the morning. Got sick of this, let's go for a walk in the woods. So we started whooping, and suddenly there was a loud rock clack. Brooklyn's voice suddenly went like he'd got tight trousers. He dragged me to the car and we were off. So it was pretty scary. It was right by us. I don't know what else it was if it wasn't a Bigfoot. And there had been one literally about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago in that spot. So you get those sort of things. Trees being pushed over, sound, they'll do that. Infrasound as well. There's a whole documentary done on this now. They let off a low infrasound. Tigers do it as well. And when we were out with Adam, we were up on this mountain, the Laurie's brother got chased down by a Bigfoot and his mate. And we got some wood knocks. That's another thing you get. I've got those, the wood knocks. We've done those and got those back. Anyway, we're up this mountain and suddenly we heard this growl, and suddenly Dave Archer, he's as fearless as anything, suddenly said, I've got to get out of here, Dave throws himself down bear holes. He's completely fearless, something freaked him, and a couple of other people in there, like Tim got a bit freaked, and we just had to get out of there. So something had affected us. I was too far back for it to affect me, but something affected people. They say you feel absolute terror and they use this infrasound, and you have to get out of there. And I met people who faced pumas, and a puma right in front of them, and they said they didn't feel as scared as they did when they got this infrasound. Bigfoot, Pacific Northwest, Canada, British Columbia, they're supposed to be very common. Appalachian Trail on the East Coast, Texas, there's forests there, Mexico, South America as well. And mainly montane forests, but other dry forests as well. Northern California, got quite the dry areas. That's a montane forest again. That's the North Cascades. That's near Northern California. That's near, not far from Bluff Creek. Paterson's book has got this in. It's Turtle Rock. And you see the turtle's head. It's supposed to be one of those turtles with a big fat face. Okay, going into my site now. We were driving along the logging road, and we found out afterwards we were 2.5 miles from where Patty was filmed. It was about 3-4 days into the trip. This was, 2014? And 2014. And I was driving with Tom Cantrell, and there was a couple of other people in the car. There was me, Tom, and the lady in the back who was half asleep, woke her at the end as they were shooting off. But when I saw them initially, I thought they're people in a really weird suit. It almost looked like one of those all-in-one throwaway garage overalls in paper. But it looked almost like a fiberglass texture, unworked fiberglass, before you smeared it over. It almost like a nylon look. And I could see what I thought were hoods up, because you could see this domed, pointed thing at the top, which would have been possibly domed head. And they had massive shoulders, and everything got massive shoulders, and I rationalised there were drug runners around there. I thought they're drug runners, they're in a really weird outfit, and I felt really sorry for them because they're running barefoot. So I thought, you know, God, that must be killing their feet. Because the sort of ground would rip your feet apart, even if you're one of these people who runs barefoot and jogs barefoot, like some of these African runners do. And they were incredibly fast, they'd been 30 miles an hour, and I said, oh, God, they're going fast. And they shot in front of us, and I just remember looking at the shoulder, and I almost rationalised they'd got rucksacks under the suit across their shoulders, because the shoulders were about 3 feet odd across, massive shoulders. They almost had a triangular shape, and the legs were a lot thinner than I expected, but the top bit was like really stocky. And they shot in front of us, and it was burnt out trees on the right hand side they shot into. Now luckily for us they panicked because there was no cover, so that we thought they'd gone, and suddenly they came back in front of the car, and at this point Tom had to do like slam on the brakes, and at the end they were 15 feet in front of the car. I actually put my arm up and I sort of pulled on my shoulder because I thought they were going to be on the bonnet, that's so close they were. And right at the end they slowed down, and I could see this really thick brow ridge, really chunky brow ridge, a really long mouth, and the nose was like a proper human nose. It was like a really squashed nose like this, but it was a big nose. And they had like, their skin was like a very dark olivey colour, and the hair was like, I think it was probably black with dust on it because it was very dusty around there. It could have been a dark grey. Couldn't see any genitals on them. As I said, you know, it was like, I mean, I liken them to an ugly Xavier Bardem, the actual face, which God knows what it says about me if I find about my relationship with Bigfoot. But that's what I describe them as. I'm just trying to think if I'm not mentioned. And they were running really weirdly. I remember thinking, God, they're running really weirdly. Is that, and then they got bare feet, is that because the ground's really, really hurting their feet? And then they shot down a slope that was completely, really sheer. We stopped. We carried on driving. Most people who see Bigfoot, they don't stop. They're so freaked, they just carry on driving. And I think, we just carry on driving. People say, why didn't you stop? You don't, because your brain is still processing what you've seen. Only the next day did we go back, but it'd been raining a bit, so we couldn't find any footprints. That's, I can draw better than that, but that was what I did afterwards. And that was the sort of nose, and the eyes were a lot bigger than a human's, and there was hardly any white, and they were really sunken. Now that's the Sykesville monster, which you showed me that about nearly 2 years after the event, didn't you, Rich? And I was telling Richard about it. He kept asking me, like, tell me about your sighting again. And then he suddenly went, oh, have you looked at the Sykesville monster image? And he showed me this. I went pale, didn't I, Rich? I actually went all shaky, because that was very, very similar to what I saw. What I saw, the nose was a bit more human than that. But this, the next image, is what my friend Tom Contrali commissioned a very good Spanish artist to do this. You know, they're all very similar, aren't they? It's quite interesting, they're all very similar. We've all got the nose very similar, the mouth very similar, the eyes very similar, and it's interesting that we've all got a very, very similar image. And Tom said that, the ones we saw, Tom said from his experience, one was an older male, one was a younger male. He said they were definitely males. I'll let you look at that for a couple more seconds, but that is pretty much like what we saw. I'd say that was, I sort of said the mouth bit under the nose slightly less big than that, the mouth slightly longer than that, I would have said, but he's almost got it. And I would have said the skin was slightly darker, but apart from that, that's about right, what we saw. And the future, there's a big debate, kill or no kill. If we kill one and prove it exists, should we do it? But some people are saying they're so rare that we could actually wreck the genetic, you know, sort of population or the ethics. I mean, there are some laws in California, I think Washington State's got one, I think there's 3 states have got laws against shooting it now. That's partly because some idiots going around pretending to be Bigfoots, getting drunk and running in front of cars. Or one guy did that when I was out there and he actually died. So I think it's partly to stop hunters randomly shooting idiots in Bigfoot suits. But some of the laws are quite detailed. They're saying if it's found to be a hominid, you'll get had for murder if you shoot it. Although, look, this is the Californian law, and I think it's in the Hooper Project, but that is. And the other, it says, if it's found to be an ape, you will get had for shooting a very rare animal. So they're quite serious about this, quite detailed law. And possible study area for me, my background psychology. I'm now a social worker, but I used to, my first degree, and I did a further degree in psychology. I'm quite interested in the perceptual factors around this sort of Bigfoot and eyewitness testimony. People say the size, and it's quite interesting because people get, attacked by, my brother's a police officer, I'll tell you, when people get attacked by somebody, they'll say, oh, it was 6'8", and you find out it's 5'2". So I think when people are scared, they overestimate the size of things. And also, they're viewed at night time, and your brain often fills in the gaps. A lot of our memory, a lot of what we see, isn't what we're seeing. Our brain hallucinates a lot of it. They've shown it fills in the gaps. So it's a bit like if you're looking for white ladies, in a ghost hunt, you're going to see a white lady. So you have to be careful of that sort of thing. It's why police sightings are very credible, because they're not out looking for Bigfoot, and they're used to describing things that they see. And obviously the speed of things distorts what you see as well. You're going to be filling in the gaps. And statistics, this is from the Olympic project. They've looked at the ways of you best to see a Bigfoot. How can you best see a Bigfoot? And the best place to spot them is the Oregon Bigfoot Highway, which is quite a long road that runs along the Pacific Northwest. And the time to see one is about 2-3 in the morning. You're most likely to see one. In moonlight helps because it can probably see better and you can see better as well. The months of June and August, but there's more people around there, so that could be a statistical fluke. And berry picking time, because they're quite distracted. People often see the backs of ones. And down by rivers as well is very good because they're distracted picking the clams. So they'll often wait to hear you come in because of the water. And pylons, where pylons are, because they often clear the ground. They often quite like walking along there because it's an easy walkway, and around roads, and around lakes as well, because they have to come down for water and they're easier to spot. And there seems to be, the Olympic project said there seems to be a possible migration of Bigfoot, and there was a guy in Nepal who said there seemed to be a migration of the Yetis. There seem to be descriptions of them being seen in certain areas at certain times that seem to relate to food availability. And there definitely seems to be, they're looking at the sightings of the Bigfoot. They seem to move towards the coast in the winter. There's more food availability. And there's the whole thing, as I said earlier, tracking versus habituation. They're very bright animals. It seems to suggest that they're bright to know you're after them. They don't like the camo. They can associate it with hunting and being under risk, unless they're going to pinch the deers off the hunters, as I said. And there's a big thing towards habituation, as I've said. A lot of people are saying this is the way for us to study them, habituation. And political factors, the logging, the government, they discovered, Richard, is it long-eared or short-eared owl in Oregon, Richard, they discovered? Yeah. They discovered this owl in Oregon. They literally lost millions to the economy. They had to stop logging. People were literally, because they've got no benefit system, were literally almost starving at one point when they found this rare owl, because they couldn't log, thousands of acres, hectares. And, so they're very opposed to it being found. And I know people have even been warned off, by people told, don't talk about it, And some of the loggers, get told not to talk about it. Some of the rangers get told not to talk about it. And obviously the big thing at the conference, when you go to the Sasquatch Summit, they don't say, does it exist? They say, we all know it exists. It's what do we do with information? Are we going to let people know this thing exists? Because what's going to happen? Because there is quite a gun-ho culture. Would people go around shooting it? Would it be like the mountain gorillas that were going to... that they're going to have trips out, let's go and view the habituated Bigfoots, let's feed the Bigfoot. It could happen, or they're going to catch them and experiment on them. there's even suggestions, you know, these things leaked out that the American government already got them and they're going to be using them as soldiers, you know. I mean, you get some bizarre stuff. But you just don't know, do you? You don't know. They could know more than they're letting on. Oh, sorry, wrong man. And this is, I said Bob Gimlin has never seen another Bigfoot. Well, I lied. And that's Bob Gimlin reading a paper with Katie on the front. With that's Bob camping out with his doing his Bigfooting. Really nice bloke. Okay, thank you very much.